Welcome to this episode. And today, with the Extraordinary Achievers, we're talking about the protests in London. And we just give us just one moment, and we take a minute silence to honor the life of George. Welcome. Today is Saturday, the 13th of June, 2020. My name is Lady Waynett Peters, and today we're here to talk about the protests in the UK. In the United States, they have made demands and they've received the demands, some of the demands that they have made. In the UK, we're coming out and we're protesting, and we are marching, and we are making our voices heard. The questions that we have today are several, and we have a few of the community leaders that will be able to share their views with you today. So we ask the question, what is the agenda? How are the protests currently looking like? What united changes are we protesting for? What can we do to make a difference? Are we on the verge of a race war? And how can we ensure that we preserve lives? Are the clashes with the police and the media marring the peaceful outcome that are hoped for by the protests? Those are some of the questions that I ask, and I know you have many more questions to ask. But today we've asked a few community leaders to come through and share their views. But we're asking you at home to also share your views so that we can answer some of those questions. The outcome of today is we want to walk away with the united front in why are we protesting in London? What is the aim? What is the outcome that we want? What is it that if we were asked to go home tomorrow, what is it that we want to have? What do we want to gain from it? Next online is Master Moore. Master Moore is going to be the next voice that you're going to hear. Master Moore is an amazing man, a community leader, CEO of a radio station, a martial arts expert, and he puts on so many different things in our community, encouraging everyone. He gives martial arts training to the young, the middle-aged, the old, the female, the male, and a great inspiration to many of us. Master Mo, we would like to open the floor to you so that you can share your views. Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, good evening, Madam Chairwoman, and it's an amazing platform to be on, to be speaking to you all today regarding the issues. And as I am sure many thousands of African Caribbeans will be at home today asking themselves the same a question, and the question is, who are the organizers, who are the leaders of this group called Black Lives Matter? Who are they? They seem to like to be a faceless group of people that are speaking on our behalves and making claims on our behalf. I've been watching the demonstrations throughout the weeks, and if anybody knows about history and how history rolls, a lot of black issues always gets ambushed by a right wing group that actively looks to destroy the issue. Because one of the questions I'm asking, who funds Black Lives Matters? What is their agenda? And inevitably, the killing of George Floyd, why that's resonated around the world so drastically. It's not just the killing of George Floyd, it's the manner in which he was killed. Because hundreds of people have been killed before by the police. Hundreds of people have been killed by our own black cells, black on black killings. But the manner in which this was done resonated around the world in terms of the horrific nature in which it was done, which helped a lot of people rise their views. A lot of people wanted to see change. Now, there's two things about change. People cannot change if they see nothing wrong with what you're asking them to change. That's number one. The people who are on protest, I'll jump a little bit because I watched the statue get pulled down of Colson. Who was pulling the statues down? It wasn't the black people. It was a lot of. Did you all notice that? It was supposed to be a protest for Black Lives Matter, but it wasn't the black people that was pulling them down. It was a lot of white people that was pulling them down. We get infiltrated all the time. Yeah, statues are important. Statues are a representation of what has happened in terms of history. And one of the things that is important is for us to actually not rewrite history, but educate people about the actual historical facts and contents from all aspects and all points of views. Because I would always ask the people who were out there fighting now to protect the statues that are up, if in 5 years' time we decide to erect a statue for the bombers of 9/11, the killing of the policemen, and we put those people's statues up and left them there for 50 years, then people get to find out the truth. Would they want it taken down? Would they want those statues glorified? Would they want those statues supporting the interests of the community that they sit in? I would doubt that very much. And that is why those statues are an affront, because all you have to do is go to the British Museum or one of the natural history museums and look through the records of all the slave owners, and you'll see how they've profited and benefited to where they are now. All the slave owners are benefiting, their families are benefiting up till today. Our taxes are paying for them to live their lives, and that's why they have this white privilege. The people who are marching out there, yes, we do want change, but change has to come from one fundamental point of view right now, and that is through the ballot box, because that's the way the life and culture have grown. If you want change, you have to change from the inside. You cannot change from the outside because you will be shot down. So we need to start getting ourselves into the essence of the fabrics of this society, getting ourselves into the police force, getting ourselves into the law chambers, getting ourselves into the politics of the nature, making ourselves school governors. Every position that affects change will see change, or else we'll always be on the outside shouting in. And the people who are inside are not listening. And they have put a rod to their own back by initiating voting. So what we have to do is vote them out, vote for change through the ballot box, because there's been protests. There's been plenty of protests in the past, and the change is always subtle. You cannot legislate against somebody's heart. You can legislate something in the statutes of law, but you cannot change people's hearts. If somebody's a racist, they will always be a racist. That law will tell them they can't be an open racist anymore, but that doesn't change them being a closet racist. So it is important that we don't sabotage what has already been started by carrying on these marches anymore, and start putting our ballot where it matters the most, where it hurts the most. 95% of the population now, in terms of the wealthy, thrive on wealth. If we deprive them of wealth, they will start worrying. If we start putting the wealth back into our own communities, they will start worrying, because all we're doing is we will demonstrate and then go back out and support them tomorrow. We will go back out and support all the white companies, all the Indian companies. That's what we will do. So what is the point of this demonstration if you're not taking it to the fullest extent? If our lives matter so much, put all your efforts into making our lives better, making sure that every single person that you come across that's within our own community benefits from your efforts, and not outside your own community. So am I against protesting and marching? No, I'm not. But it comes to a point. Once you've made a point, you move that point on. And at this moment in time, with so many thousand out there, marching against the statues and so forth being pulled down, it's a minute matter in the grand scheme of things. It just goes to show how much more work that needs to be done in terms of educating people. Because I'm sure most of the people out there protesting that don't want the statues down will be horrified to find out what those statues actually represent, who those people actually were, and their life stories be told. That's the important issue that needs to be brought into fold, because the education that people have at the moment is skewed. Thank you.
Thank you, Master Mo. So, Master Mo, can I just get the understanding? Are you saying we should now stop the protests and now we should move on to the next stage?
Absolutely, because in every time we've set up any sort of organization, it slowly gets infiltrated by a particular wing movement, who blindsides us into their own agenda, and we lose sight of where we actually want to be. And that's starting to happen now. So we should now stop and then move on, because we don't want to become the villains of the piece.
That's right. That's right. Thank you. Thank you for your input. And we're going to come back to you. We're also asking all the viewers on Facebook that we have at the moment, could you please click, like, and share? Share with others. This is our community. This is a moment and time that we're coming together. It's not about me. It's not about Master Mo. It's not about the rest of the other speakers that you're going to hear from today. We are just the representatives that are here for today to start a movement, that we come together and we talk and we get something done. So this is the beginning of many more actions to come. So we're asking you, please, to get involved. We're going to come back to you, Master Mo. And Master Mo, we'd like to thank you for your time now, and we will come back to you. So we're going to now actually move on to now our next speaker. And our next speaker that we have is Josephine, an amazing lady, an amazing woman, a community leader herself, a criminologist and founder of You Can Do It Foundation. Josephine is also a minister of gospel music and a businesswoman and a mother. Josephine, we're coming over to you now and we're asking you, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts in terms of the background that you had and in terms of having to have practiced law? And now, as a mother and as a human being, as a woman and someone out there, what do you think about the process that we have? And what would you like to see happen?
Good evening. I would like to say thank you for inviting me. It's such a honor to be here today. What we are seeing happening around the world today, it has been a long time of victimization and suppression among our Black brothers, Black women, Black children. And as a criminologist, this has been going on for too long. And our people are getting very tired. They have put so many laws, but those laws are not for everybody. Some of the laws, I will say, they're for Black people, especially the joint enterprise law.
I apologize, Josephine, for interrupting you for just 1 second. Some of our viewers are saying that they can't quite hear you. So if you
Oh,
just
okay.
up the notch a little bit so that they can hear you
Okay.
much clearer and can hear all this wonderful information that you would like to share with everyone. Thank you.
Okay. I apologize. Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you.
It's a very long and awaiting protest to happen. It's it shows that our Black people, they are fed up and tired of the way we have been treated around the world. It's not just America, it's not just UK. It's all around the world in Europe. They have so many laws like the joint enterprise. And as a criminologist, I would say some of the laws are not for everyone when it comes to justice. There has been several debates concerning the joint enterprise. Um, it has been suggested that the joint enterprise is mostly for Black people because they realize that most of our young brothers, young children, they are more into gang and knife crime. And usually, as a gang is not just one person, it can be more than five, numerous people. And also a knife crime, which also has a thin line towards gang crime. So we have seen so many cases where they have used the joint enterprise to prosecute most of our Black people. So what we're seeing happening around the world is a demonstration of saying enough is enough. There must be equal opportunity all around, whether in the job place, in the schools, or in the public area, just out and about. But the only thing that makes it so unique this time around is that we have Caucasian people who were there too. It's not just Black people. We have Caucasian people who were there. So for us to see Caucasian people, it's a start and it's a hope to see that there will be changes. But I think it's about time we need to talk to the high and mighty, the law policies, the people who makes the policy. Because our people can be out there the whole day trying to speak their mind, but yet they have not been heard. We need changes. We need to educate the schools, the libraries. You don't see that much books there concerning our um, background of slaveries. We need to educate them. And what baffles me the most is we have Black History Month, which is fantastic, is good, but they don't really give the full meaning, the full in-depth of the meaning of Black History Month. Most of the teachers who teaches these children about Black History Month, if you look back, most of them are Caucasian. Now tell me, how can a Caucasian teach people about our history, our slavery. They can't. They can't deliver. It has to be one of us. So I would suggest the schools need to bring a Black person to come in and educate the schools about racism, because our children are suffering too in schools. They're suffering silence. I'm sure for those who have children, if you take your time and you ask them questions about things that's happening to schools, I mean, happening to them in schools, you'll be amazed, you'll be shocked, you'll be terrified. You see? And they get called all type of names because of the color of their skin, which is absolutely wrong. Absolutely wrong. Because that's just weakening our Black children who are meant to be a leader for tomorrow, weakening their self-esteem and weakening their self-awareness of who they are. So we as a Black people, we need to unite. We need to unite as one. We need to start showing love to one another. Because one thing I have observed is we have people calling, we have African Caribbean, then we have Black Caribbean, which I don't understand the labeling. We are all one. And we do get Black people who call each other, oh, are you African Caribbean? Or are you African? It's all under one umbrella. When you speak to a Caucasian people, they don't see us as Caribbean or African. They just see us as one, Black. So we ourselves, we need to work on each other and educate ourselves, educate our children to know, because no children is young not to be educated, because this has been going on for too long. The maltreatment has been going on for too long. We need to educate our children, because by law, the criminal responsibility for age is 10 years old. If you're 10 years old and you commit a crime, you will be prosecuted for the crime by law. So we, as a mother, as a father, as a brother, we need to educate our children. They need to be aware of this so they will know how to act when they are outdoors. It's rather pity we have to do this, but this is the way life is at the moment. So I agree with the way people have gone out to seek for justice. But the only thing I disagree is the violence. We're giving them what they want to see. Already there's a labeling among Black people that we are violent, we talk arrogant, but we don't. The arrogancy is because of the anger of the way we've been treated. And they've not heard our voice. So that's the way we express ourselves. So now I think the law policy makers need to be spoken to. Thank you.
Okay, I was just talking to myself. I'd muted myself there. I was just saying, thank you so much, Josephine. And thank you so much. And one most important thing that stuck in my mind, which is a passion of mine that I have, is we have to come together and we have to work together. We can come out, but if we're not singing from the same hymn book, then what's the purpose in singing at all? If we are singing from the same hymn book, then we are united, and we're a united force, and a united force can have so much more impact that it can have. Josephine, we'll come back to you again. And thank you very much for your input. We really appreciate you. And thank you to the work that you're doing in the community and You Can Do It Foundation. Everyone, Google You Can Do It Foundation. Support what she's doing. Amazing things out there. And thank you very much for that. We'll come back to you shortly. I would like to take this opportunity just to read some of the messages that are coming through from Facebook. Mr. Bami Collie Roberts said, "It is time for us to be the change that we wish to see in the world. It's time for us to be the change that we wish to see in the world. Black lives do matter. Thank you for your contribution, Mr. Bamikoli Roberts. We acknowledge you, Arimori Antonin, the composer. Thank you, and thank you for saying real talk. We acknowledge that. Sugar Ray, hi, darling. You say, wasn't the joint enterprise started because of the mafia? These questions, I'm going to leave them for the panel. Master Mo, I'm going to ask you to take on that question. Wasn't the joint enterprise started because of the mafia? If you can note that down, Master Moore, after we hear from our next speaker, we'll come back to you to answer the question, wasn't the joint enterprise started because of the mafia? And thank you, Simon Brown, who sent us a hello, thank you, and I am watching. And then we have got Ehuku Nepwe says, hello, sis, hello, my dear, and thank you for watching. And I'm encouraging you all to please share. Honorable Bola Olivia, thank you very much for your participation. We thank you. Desiree Richardson, thank you very much. And thank you to everyone that's watching at this moment in time. If I was to ring names, I'll be here for another 5 more minutes. But if you have anything to say, and if you have anything to share, please add it onto the comments and we can discuss it through. It's not about us on this panel. It's about all of us, all of you at home, wherever you are. Next, I'm going to be introducing Malin. Malin is a guest that has contacted me, a speaker that has contacted us. We've been live on. And Malin would like to add her viewpoint. Malin, over to you. What would you like people to hear from you?
What I would like to say is a lot of this march that's been taking place, it's for the good of us, of the world, in fact, to change everyone's way of thinking and giving equality to everybody that is struggling and is being oppressed. And now we've got these people, far right people, coming and getting involved just to create havoc and to take the focus of the real cause. And that needs to stop, and don't create a division between us, because we've got one division with inequality. We don't want it to turn into anarchy.
Thank you, Malin. Now that was a guest, a viewer that is what was watching from Facebook, and Malin sent me a message and said, I want to come on and I want to add something and I'd like to say something. So I said, Malin, let's hear from you. As Malin is representing many of you that are also at home that did not prepare to say anything today, but has a lot to say. So thank you, Malin. We appreciate you taking time and sending me the message and bringing me. And thank you for continuing to encourage us and giving us information and learning. We're on a learning curve. We never stop learning. Thank you, Malin.
Yes, I'd also like to add to it that most of these people, they said they came to protect the statues, but they came just to create anarchy. There's no protection of statue. They were fighting with the police and whoever they could find.
And thank you for that input. And this is why we're saying for the Black Lives Matters, let's now come together and have that list of the things that we say we want. What would make us go home tomorrow? So that we're not just coming out and then the few that are there and now fighting with the police and the few that are there that are now fighting with the media so that they can get back again into that tune. I would like to say, respect everyone that has come out to do the protest, everyone that's come out to march, everyone that has organized every single protest and march. I salute you and I thank you for taking action. I am only here to say that I think it's time for us to come together, be united, and be able to sing from the same hymn book. Once again, thank you, Malin. Next, I'm going to be introducing you to Juliet Macapilla. Juliet Macapilla is another amazing community advocate that we have. Juliet is an individual that puts on many events herself. She's an individual that is known to have done so much in the community, a community advocate, a change maker, a person that has great passion for change and bringing people together. Juliet, I'd like to welcome you to the Extraordinary Achievers Show, where today we're talking about the protests in the UK. So over to you.
Thank you so much, Lady Chief Waynett, and for inviting me to be part of this program. And I tell you what, this is something that has always been in my heart. And indeed, I'm also the UK Africa Diaspora Forum founder. And we speak about our platform is mainly on education, community learning and education, especially understanding the views of cross-culture issues and matters to do with Asian, Africans, and of course the UK. So we are a platform of learning and sharing. So many of you would have attended our programs. But in this today's topic, we've got 3 minutes, and I want to start off by speaking about prejudice and white supremacy. And I felt that this is something that we, for me, I'll first of all speak from an individual side as well. And I think this is a matter of these things are known very well, especially in the West. And it's important that we understand that racism has been, the story of racism has been said for so many years. And in 2008, Lord John Alderdice report presented within the Liberal Democrats, the report of how racism was impacting the Liberal Democrats. David Lammy, also from Labour, was also given the duty to sort of like give us a good report for all cross parties and tell us what was happening across the country. And this was commissioned by, I believe, the former Prime Minister David Cameron. So when we are looking at prejudice, it is important to understand that, and we know that for far too long, especially, and I'm going to come to the difference, we need to be very understanding. We have the BAME, which is the Black, Asian, minority ethnic groups, and we also have the BAM, so which we've got the BAM, which is the Black African minority. So on this one, I'm talking about the Black African minorities, which is consisting of the Africans and Caribbeans. So the Black Lives Matter, that is what is really sort of like trying to push forward, that for far too long, we have been underrepresented in many, many areas, especially across, we see the movement across America, and we also see that movement going along every single state. Now, for myself, I think we need to understand that the higher consciousness in our lives, we need to take that, especially as Black people, and understand that we need to evolve. I want us to be more sort of like human conscious, and what does that mean? I was watching Suguru speaking yesterday, and he's a wonderful person who talks about human evolvement, and he was talking about how racism exists not just in the white community, but across the world in various communities. So he was talking about we need to be very careful what we are asking for, because if we are not very careful, people can confuse the issues. So he was talking about two key issues, especially. He was talking about how the freedom to fight for anti-racism stuff, like we are saying, and if we go in back as hatred, what that creates. So he asked us that question. So it's important for people to understand that. So I'll leave you with that. And then the second thing he was asking is about how human changes, because for far too long, people already know that you cannot hate another human being. So the stories are told in different communities. The stories are told in different governments. And that's what he was talking about. The stories are put in the constitution that no racism and anti-racism stuff is put in government so that you embrace humanity. But so far, what humanity has done in some communities, they've not embraced the issues of racism, and that impacts especially the Black people, which is the BAM, who are not really represented in many majorities. So he was asking the question of evolvement, which is why I thought I should throw that in there. And so human consciousness needs to evolve, because it's not that people don't know what to do, but we haven't moved with time, he was reasoning. So the other issue I wanted to talk about is the statues. And personally, I think the statues are quite good where they are. Say, for instance, I know some people may disagree, but that's my own personal view. So I'll state that that's a personal view. And that is because I feel that the stories should be told as they are. And I think I mentioned this to you yesterday. I question myself in terms of, if we were to go to every evil in the world that has been created, I don't see us getting anywhere. So that is why I say, if those statues remain where they are, they have got a story and a meaning. If we were to put all these statues in museum and then we are charged to see the very same statues in the museum just to tell our stories, it's questionable. I always state that. So I'll leave you with that one. So for me, I would rather see the stories, because if you think about the stories of even Churchill, it's the story of British history. It's not, it's British. Yeah, it's the story of London, UK, Great Britain. So we need to be careful not to confuse the issues as well. And when you talk about Churchill as well, you're looking at World War and all those kind of stories that happened during the World War. So it's important to hear the stories from both sides. So I think I will leave it there. On the protest, a quick one is we thank the youth for taking the initiative. We thank the youth for being good citizens as well, and ensuring that they are respectable citizens. We encourage them to be respectable citizens. It is important in any community that we teach our youth and mentor our youth to be very responsible citizens. We should not have an issue where there is tit for tat. I don't think that is a good society that we would be creating. A society that is God consciousness, and a society, and even if you go to Africa or even the Caribbean, the biggest lesson, and I want to leave you with that, is Ubuntu, or Ubuntu. And Ubuntu means that I am and we are. So, and they are. And in other words, we are connected. So if we can teach our youth to have the spirit of Ubuntu, Ubuntu, that is absolutely something that the youth would learn. And it means that despite the difference that the problems that we are seeing, I believe that in a world of peace, we are able to nurture this youth to be very good citizens. Thank you, Yaya.
Thank you. Advocate Juliet, so are you saying that
Yeah.
people should stop taking their statues down? And what has been done of taking the statues down, you're not quite supporting that action. Is that correct?
I am saying that as a personal view, yes. And
Yeah.
that is because I feel that you can imagine if we were to go and start taking out all the statues across the whole world and arguing, I don't think we would be building. I think we need to tell the stories. Those statues, if I gave you an example, if I was, you're a great friend, or I'm a great friend, and you were to build a statue of myself, or I was to build a statue of yourself, I would be building a story around your extraordinary achievers. I would be building a story about all the leaders that we've had. So are we then saying that leaders should not be celebrated? So that is why I say that's a personal view for myself. And I think that I have seen the issues, angry mob people. And I'm going to refer again. If people could watch Suguru, S-U Suguru. So if you just go to YouTube and it's Saguru, I can't pronounce it, but I will type it down there and watch what he's saying. And you will see that hatred cannot be put back as hatred. And for that reason, my views have changed in terms of how you actually create a peaceful world in terms of any statue that has been put. I think it is important to learn and understand why that statue is. And in some cases, you might find actually the story behind that statue is very different from what people are portraying. So that's how I see it.
Thank you very much, Advocate Juliet. We appreciate you, and once again, thank you very much for doing the awesome work that you're doing and getting people together and doing so much more than 10 people can do as one person. Thank you for sharing your information today, and we'll speak to you later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back again to the Extraordinary Achievers. And today on the Extraordinary Achievers, we are talking about the UK protests. What is the agenda? What outcome are we looking for? How is it going so far? Do we think some people have missed the plot a little bit? Attacking the police, is that a good idea? That is being done by just those few. Attacking the media, the ones that take a biased view and make it unbiased, and an unbiased view make it a biased view. And then if we were to attack them, who's going to tell our story? Already we know that sometimes the media is questionable. Sometimes we do know that they can be to our benefit. But at this moment in time, we are appealing to all those others not to attack the media, not to attack the police officers, and let us unite to have our views heard. I'm just going to quickly refer to some more of the input that's coming through Facebook. MC Munya said, oh, let's come back to MC Munya because I think he is actually responding through to something else that came in through earlier. Geraldine says, this all starts with education in schools. If the correct history was to be taught, most of the statues, most of the statues would be acceptable. But history in this country adapted and twisted for the English advancement. Earlier, I was also reading from Kimberly Cedrina. Hi, honey. And Kimberly had also the same view, and she said Black history is not being taught enough in school, and the children are not being taught their Black history. And so I personally appeal to some more community leaders, like our next speaker that we're going to have next. We're going to have next Pastor Simeon. Pastor Simeon is not only a pastor, he's also a community advocate, and he runs Homework Club and Saturday schools. Pastor Simeon is amazing in what he does in the community as he brings people together and he teaches them. We belong to loads of his different WhatsApp groups where we learn something from him every day. And what Pastor Simeon, what he is best at doing is actually sharing that Black history, allowing us to know more about our Black history and teaching us in each day. Today, he's going to join us on his view about the protests in London. Pastor Simeon, over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Waynett. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak tonight. I've been a local councillor in Newham. I happen to be the first Black Christian Democratic councillor in the British electoral history. I think the protest is, personally, I was a union leader myself, and I can honestly tell you that it's so important for everybody to take a part in whatever form, but to ensure that it's peaceful. Being peaceful is very important to whatever we want to achieve, because two wrongs, they say, never makes a right. Now, about the protest, I don't have any problem with that at all. It's so important for us to continue to protest as many times as until the authority are able to listen to us. But however, we need to be mindful of the people that can hijack the protest so that they can give Black people bad names. Now, that's very important. I was listening to Master Mo and also Josephine Camera and some of the things they've mentioned. I strongly feel the protest is so important because everybody, if you don't protest, it's like you're quiet about things. But as much as we are protesting, it has to be peaceful protest, and we need to teach ourselves that. Because the moment we break stuff, we destroy stuff and all that, then it takes the beauty of the protest away, and it brings us in a bad light to the authority. That's number one. Number two is, so just like Mo said, he said we need to take further action. I agree with that totally. We need to take further action. What are the further action we need to take? I strongly feel that a lot of us as ethnic minority people, especially, I don't like to use the word black. Sorry, I use brown. And that's the reason for it. I don't want to be controversial. But at the same time, I believe that a lot of we're not involved in the political system. A lot of us, we just want to do the protest and go back home and sleep. Change will not come from there. We need to get involved in the political system. If decision is made in House of Commons, then we need to find a way to put majority of our people in House of Commons. We need to put our people, we need to get people to be involved in the political system, even in their local authority. In Newham, for example, where I was a councillor, I can tell you today that we can count the number of brown people that are represented. To be honest with you, a lot of people are not just involved politically. And politics is the only way. I call politics policy tactics. That is the tactics. That is the way to make a change. If you want a change in this country, you can fight for all you care. The moment decision is made in House of Commons, there is nothing anybody can do about it. Now, let me now say this to you. There is no way people will love you more than their own blood. It is difficult for you to love, just all this thing we're saying today, what we're saying in essence is, we want brown people to love brown people. We want, do you understand? Why would you expect the other party not to love their own people? They will love their own people. But what we need to do, this is what my father used to say, my mentor used to say. He says, success is the best revenge. The best revenge ever is success. Be successful. People will listen to you. But what we're doing is we're acting, we are reactionary. We are not proactive. We are not encouraging our young ones to be interested in where it matters the most. We want them to be medical doctors. We want them to be lawyers. We want them to be, but we need to get our people to understand the principle of politics. Very important. We need to get them to be involved in any political office, because that is where decisions are made. And a lot of people, I was speaking at a conference not too long ago, and they're asking me to talk about pulpit and politics and pulpit. Some people will tell you a pastor should not be a politician because politics is dirty. Yes, the people that is in politics makes it dirty. I told them, so I was asking a question. I said, what is the cleanest animal in the world? If you want to ask, what is the cleanest? Which of the animals is the cleanest in the world? Nobody can answer. But if you Google it, they will tell you pig is the cleanest animal in the world. Pig. But why is it that people look at pig as the dirtiest animal in the world? It's simple. Because whatever you give pig to wallow in, that's what it will wallow in. But pig will never defecate in a clean water and wallow in it. It's not possible. Go Google it. What is the clean? Politics is the cleanest way of making sure that we have proper representation and change the status quo. What we have at the moment, if people are not involved in politics, you can do whatever you like, you can protest whatever you like, you can do whatever. But the issue is your voice can only be heard where it matters the most, and that is in the place of voting. Mo mentioned it. He said he mentioned the fact that we should put our ballots. We need to go beyond putting our ballots. It's not where we put our ballots, because before that will take a very long time. What we need to be doing now is recruiting more people, activists in the political world, to become councillors, to become MPs, to select even in the selection process for leadership. That is very important. For as many of that, before we now start to talk about teaching people about what's it called, Black History Month and all those stuff. How much of that can we do? But let's get our people out there in the political field, in House of Commons. Let's have more Black people represented, or brown people represented. Let's have more brown people represented in every areas of political field. When we have done that, then it will be so easy. Look at what David Lammy only is doing at the moment. Just him. Look at the effort he has put in place. Look at the way the guy is canvassing every single day, representing the interests of the brown people, making sure that we are heard. Some of the injustices that is there is because there is nobody to speak for us in the right places. And that's what we're trying to say. We need to get that on board. and begin to look. A lot of people say politics is a dirty game. No, it's only a dirty game because the good ones are sleeping, when the ones that are meant to be representing us that have good ideas, they've limited their focus to online debates or no, we need to do much more. Please, apart from having your ballot paper, join a political party. If you join a political party, not only that, go to meetings. Let me tell you this. I go to meetings, landlord meetings. A lot of us as brown people, we are not interested in landlord, just the local landlord meeting. We are not interested. They make decisions at the landlord meeting. We don't know what is going on. We're too busy for the community. It is when we now find issues that are terrible and bad, we now take placard. How long are we going to do that for? So what we need to do now, be involved in your local community, be involved in your landlord association, be involved in all those things. Have a party card, join a political party. Don't say, I'm not interested. If you are not interested in political party, then why you should be interested in protesting? The decision is going to be taken where it matters, and that is what we need to do. Please let us take the debates away from the streets. Let us take it to those areas that matters, so that when they are asking how many people want education for this, you will be part of those people that will make those decisions. And that is my conclusion. Let's get involved in politics. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Simeon Ademolake. Thank you so much. And thank you, Pastor.
Thank you.
And thank you. You are a very good friend. And every time I call on to you, you take off your hat as a pastor, you take off your hat as a counselor, and you take off your hat as a teacher, and you're there as a friend, no matter what it is that I need assistance with in all my programs. And I'd like to thank you so much. Thank you, because you're a true example of a good leader. And I'd like to say thank you very much. Thank you. And you have many people that have commented on Facebook that are in agreement in what you're doing and what you have said. So we would like to thank you. And continue on with the Saturday schools. We need them, and encouraging others that the Saturday school that you're doing is working. The after school homework clubs that you're doing, they are working. So for those other brown people and people of color and others too, because we are in the UK after all, and they would like to participate in what you're offering, you do have those facilities, and to contact you. And please, viewers, do take note of his name. You'll find him on Facebook, all over the internet. And he is a counselor, and he is a pastor, and he is a great community leader. Now, I'd like to say thank you for your time, and we will come back to you. Thank you. Viewers, thank you very much. The audience, thank you very much. As I said earlier, it's not about me. It's not about the panel of speakers we have today. It's about us as a community. What is it that we want from this protest and moving forward? What is it that we're looking for? What is the agenda? The questions we're trying to answer today in our discussions, what united changes can the protests that have been carried on bring? You've had from our panel speakers all with different views and all coming from different areas. Next, we're going to have Ebony Empress, Sandra. Sandra is going to come on shortly. Ebony is going to come on to be our next speaker. Ebony is another amazing community leader. Ebony herself has a radio station that she runs, a Christian radio station and radio that she has, and is a keen member in the community that is always there and at hand to give her advice. She's a mentor, she's a coach, she's an amazing woman. She runs the marathon, she's great at keep fit, the well-being, exercising, and is always there. Ebony has strong views about injustice, and she has great passion when it comes to injustice. Now we're going to hear from Empress Ebony. Empress Ebony, the floor is open to you. And thank you for joining us this evening.
Hey, no problem. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Yeah, hope you enjoyed the sun today. So, interesting conversation. I just got to say the last speaker, Lady Waynett, I respect you much, but someone talking about brown people and in reference to black people, I don't understand that. I'm a little bit lost. So, but okay, I hear people have different points of view. So let me say, a lot of the people who have spoken already may not be coming from the perspective that I am. I was born, brought up in this country. I went to school here all of my life, worked from being a young person up to an older person. And I've seen all of it. I've seen a lot of things, not everything, but a lot of things which tell me that we are definitely dealing with institutional racism in this country. We have an issue. I'm going to go to the protesting and whatever, but let me just say there is an issue that comes from somewhere. It has a beginning, a middle, and it's now got to a point where we're starting to think maybe it'll come to an end, but I don't believe it will. I believe, institutional racism, discrimination in all its forms will remain. The question is, how's this particular thing going to pan out? So this started with the brutal, let's remember, the brutal killing of a black man, not a brown man, a black man. Okay. Someone stood on his neck and took his life as a policeman in the US. It's not the first death that I've seen that way. There's Sandra Bland, there are others. So it started from a position where someone had no control over what would happen to him. This, this institutional system has been going on for a long, long time. And I hear people talking about peaceful protest and how we need to not look bad. I really wanted to choke. Not look bad at what? We've done peaceful. We have Martin Luther King, peaceful. Let's do it peaceful. And then we had Malcolm X, by any means necessary. And, I love Martin Luther King, but they both died. One would say, right, by the hands of his own. We don't know how it happened. I wasn't there. But what I know is peaceful or non-peaceful, the outcome for both of those civil rights leaders was the same. Why was it the same? Why did we still have 72 people dying in Grenfell just a year or so ago? Why did that happen? Mainly Black and ethnic minorities. Come on. Are we asleep or what? Brown people, really? Okay. And then, there's a woman that was spat on at the railway station. Coronavirus being a big thing here. We know we've been on lockdown. What I can tell you is, someone gets spat on and then they die. Come on. I don't know. For me, I'm like, let's do it peacefully, but I'm wondering what will work. Is it, do we need to go and become politicians? Really? Okay, there are 55 ethnic minority MPs in this country against 600 or more. 600, I think there's 650 MPs altogether. We only represent 55 of those. Okay, why only 55? For a long time, there was only 4 back in the 80s. And, whatever we say, we were all like, yeah, that's the start of a big change here. It's taken a long time. We've only got to 55. Okay, is that because we're not signing up? I don't believe you. I don't believe it. It's because we have something that we call institutional racism, which prevents our children from achieving, which locks our young Black men up in this system and prevents them from achieving their goals. It is a system. And if we're going to have time for all these things, like we're going to get into politics and whatever, we need to be able to live our lives equally to the people that are our peers, the people we went to school with. Because of the color of our skin, should it mean that I have less of a chance to live? There's a virus and I'm more likely to die than others. Why should that be right? Why should that continue? The statutes, well, they're symbolic. They're symbolic. Symbolic of a colonial system. And people are saying there's an end to that. and we no longer want to celebrate and support those people who benefited and are now become the heroes almost of a racist system. And that's why people are tearing them down. And I'm not saying it's the best thing, but I'm saying, why did it happen? Why did it need to happen? Why are, well, whoever's doing it. I mean, people saying, oh, people are hijacking the agenda. What agenda? We don't own much. We don't control much. We are literally the last to be considered. I don't know what we're thinking, in our conversation about what we've achieved. As a race of people, how we surviving in this system. We need to just have a look at that and be real. No. Whoever's doing whatever they're doing, I applaud everybody who's protesting. I applaud everybody who's standing up in whatever way they're standing up. Celebrities, whoever's speaking out, because I know that we have been here in so many ways, and everybody will say peacefully is the only way, and let's use this, and whatever means. I am saying, by whatever means, like Malcolm X, necessary, let's get change, because I want to see it in my lifetime. And we thought when Barack Obama was elected in the US, that was the start of change. No, there was a little change here and there, but let's look at it. For the majority of Black people, it's the same story. So I want to know, when are we gonna wake up? First, let's wake up, because some of us are asleep about the issues that are really happening around us, and we're still in this little daisy life of like, we only have to do this, we only have to pray, or we only have to speak nicely to our oppressors. Remember, we're being oppressed. And I think if we followed some of the people with some of the views that I've heard, we would still have apartheid, we would still have colonialism, we'd still be in chains. Okay, we've come a long way, and we fought really hard. And I'm Black and proud. I also accept my African heritage. But, that's my opinion. By any means necessary, let's get change. It's time. The time is now.
By any means necessary. Thank you, Empress Ebony. With those by any means necessary, wouldn't you agree, though, that we need to be united in that whatever means necessary? So we are
Well,
all going towards the same goal.
I don't think you're ever going to get true unity. I think what you hear today, is that there are many different views about how we achieve change. And so we're never going to be totally unified about the process that we should take. And it doesn't matter whether we discuss this until we're blue in the face, right? The truth is, we all have different ways to approach this. But I'm saying, in your churches, protest in your way. In the workplace, stand up in your own way. I don't feel we necessarily need other people to do it, but they're doing it. And if it's making a difference, I'm saying it's better than nothing. It's better than silence, which we've had before, because, we've watched it. I remember, because I'm that old, I remember the 1980s when, the young people died in the New Cross fire in this country in 1981, I think it was. And I remember leaving school and running to the, to the West End to protest because nothing was done. Did it change anything? No, but in history it's written now that we got out there and we actually said there's something wrong and we want an answer. And I'm that's why I'm saying it's a combination of things. We need the discussion. We need it on the agenda wherever we can get it. And the politicians need to keep it on the agenda for as long as possible, because we know what happens, right? After a while, everybody gets quiet again, and it's like, oh, let's wrap it down. The politicians have it, and no change happens, and we continue with the same thing. It continues. I want to see change, but I want to see action. I want to see something tangible come out of this, but I think we need lots of different approaches. And I do applaud those people who are coming out in whichever form. And that's why I say by any means, because in order to get change, think about apartheid. How did we fight? In one way? No, we didn't. protests happened in a lot of different ways, and people had to, that combination is what brought the change, so that we, you know, our Nelson Mandela could come out and be free. You know, it was a whole load of different strategies that were in place, and people were fighting in lots of different ways. So we don't need one method, we need several in order to get the change that we're looking for.
Thank
That's
you.
my view. That's my view.
Today, it's not about the right view or the wrong view.
Yeah.
Today, thank you very much for that. Today is about taking all our views together, see where we can all be singing from the one same hymn book, the things that we agree on, and then we act on those things that we agree on. And the things that we don't agree on, those are the things that we still need to work on. So we need to find our common ground today. Thank you very much, Ebony Empress. And once again, thank you for being an amazing friend, an amazing sister, and an amazing being altogether. I'm just going to read some of the messages. I apologize if I don't get through all the messages that have been coming flying through onto Facebook. As soon as I'm going onto my little gadget to get to them, they're gone. So as a speaker is speaking, and I don't want to interrupt our speakers as they're speaking. But Mr. Munya says, you saying it was wrong for Churchill to be aggressive in the face of domination. Have we not enjoyed years of peace in Europe for decades since the war? Then Geraldine says, this all starts with education in the schools. If the correct history was taught, most of the statues would be acceptable. But history in this country adapted and twisted for the English advancement. Okay, then we go on to Aremuru, Anthony Everest says, immortalizing hate is not in tune with the current mood of people today. The statues are out of touch. And then Mr. Munya says, it is up to parents to teach the history of their heritage to their children, whilst primary schools need to focus primarily on numeracy and literacy. So he's saying, let's bring it back home. Let's teach our children the Black history. Let's be like Councillor Pastor Simeon and put on some after-school clubs and Saturday school clubs, and let's teach the children about the history. Elizabeth says, I agree in regards to Juliet and what she is saying in regards to the statues. Bob Baker, thank you very much. And Bob Baker, I'd like to say thank you, because I know you've wildly spread across and shared and liked this. So thank you very much. If you haven't shared and liked, please share and like. It's not just about us, it's about all of us. So Bob Baker says, statues should be taken down for it's an affront to humanity and offends people. MC Munya says, don't take the statues down, tag them so all we know the good and the ugly of the history. Erasing things doesn't help. Juliet has sent some links. Juliet Macapila, Advocate Juliet Macapila, has sent some links on Facebook, so you can follow up some other links that she sent on Facebook, and we acknowledge you once again. We acknowledge everyone that is watching and like to thank you for your time that you're watching right now. Mary Martin, you've sent through a few things. You said John Boyega is a good leader. Ian Crouch has sent us a message, and we also have another message from Mark Jones, which says, the initial message has been lost. I've been watching the protest today on both sides. There are videos live from EDL and FLA and other fascist organization protecting the statues, and likewise. Mary Martin says, we need to join as members of the Labour Party. The more people, the more our voices can be heard. Wake up, people. Let's do this right. All the talk and all the much will die down. Keep it alive. And Mary also says, we are all God's people. When we do not talk like the opposition. We also have some other messages that we received earlier from others. We had a Reverend Dr. Precious Tor. She sent a message earlier that she wanted me to read on this show today. And she said, please share this. The stop and search is done wrongly. Let's have equal housing. let's look at the constitutions again and how they affect Black lives. And more Blacks in the parliament, like the Indians, if we can have more Blacks in the parliaments like the Indians have, and equal education system to stop targeting our young boys at an early age. I will agree with you there that we have many of the Black children and children of the ethnic minority that are in the Peru schools, and they have not known to have the best results at all. So an intervention needs to be made where that is. And Reverend Dr. Precious Tor also says the right to walk the streets without the fear of being killed. And that is from her. We have got something from Nerissa who says, so now they're admitting that the report into why Blacks are dying more than the whites, in terms, I think she is referring to actually the COVID there. We are going to go back onto the process. We have so many other messages that I will come back to read for you again. But before that, I'm going to add something that Mr. Munya did write earlier, which was, if we're not careful, we are going to kick off a race war. Funny enough, age is also a significant factor, as the millennium have very limited interest in preserving the colonial monuments and imperial supremacy. My projection is that it's going to be a motley crew of Dad's army. Tony Robinson and Jada Franklin Britain, first types. Fortunately, in civilized England, there is no right to bear arms. So the police will be prepared for this lot when more riots are coming through. We have got plenty to go through, and we are going to go back to our speakers. But before we do that, I'm going to introduce to you King Darren Robinson, a young achiever who was one of the first youth MPs in the United Kingdom. And he's going to represent for us today the youth and the millennium. So we're going to hear from a young person's point of view. So I'm proud to say he's my son. So now over to you. We're now going to give the floor over to you for you to share with us and give us a young view.
Thank you very much. Guys, thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. If you haven't already, please like, share. You know, once the video is over, it doesn't end there. There's a lot more that we can do. I've got some notes here that I've written. I want to be very to the point. So please bear with me, as I haven't really got proper eye contact with you guys, but do hear me out. Without the correct and unified purpose and motives, our protests will only go down in history as destructive to some and a waste of time to most. The energy behind the protest are phenomenal. This energy should not be wasted. It is evident that the people want change. More importantly than change is equality amongst the people. No race is greater than any other, and it is important that we remember this as we protest. Remember the message you are trying to send, and remember that this message will sow a seed for the future. I feel like if the wind blows too hard in the wrong direction, we will end up in an unwanted race war, mentioned several times. It should be clear what our agenda is. The police force are not our enemy. They simply enforce the laws set to govern our local communities. As members of the community, we should not accept that there may be laws in place to hinder some people more than others. The government revises laws frequently, and some laws need to be adjusted sooner than others. Protest with your neighbors, friends, family, and co-workers. This is the future. United, we should stand, and united, we should forward. In the UK, we see protests in many corners of the country. Personally, I am happy to see my generation come together. However, how long are we as a generation going to be ignorant? If your friend protests with you today, but won't join you tomorrow because it's not trending on social media, how are we meant to take control of our future? If your friend is protesting and you are watching from a distance, ask yourself, are you alive or living? Protesting does not start or end with marching towards police stations or town halls. This platform that we're using right now is only one of many examples of how we can enlighten one another and spread a message to the world. If you care, there is something you can do, big or small. Ask yourself, are you angry or are you passionate? If you are still angry, redirect that energy. Possibly form a team of people and begin to educate your community. If you are passionate, do not allow the energy behind this movement to go left. I want to use my voice today to remind you that you are being heard. Do not allow your efforts to be in vain. I'd like to thank all the speakers that have come on today, everyone that's writing comments, everyone has made very powerful points. And I would like just to say personally that not only do I see young and old people coming together, but it's important that, you know, we have a unified message, because without that, this energy is going to get lost. And we do not want the energy to get lost.
Thank you, King Darren Robinson, and thank you for your input. And there you are, ladies and gentlemen. We've also heard it from a young perspective, not a young, but a younger perspective, representing the youth, the millennium, and the young adults. And this is what also our children are saying. He's a voice of our children, the voice of others that are out there. I know there are many other viewpoints that are out there, but I think would like to thank you so much, son, for eloquently speaking so well, and to having to have taken your time to share this with us. Thank you, and we're going to leave you there in the audience. Thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for taking part in this. We are truly and truly grateful for all the input that we've had today. And I would urge you, please share with others. Let's share our views. We're going to go back to our panel of speakers, and we're going to start off back with Master Moore. Master Moore, we're going to welcome you back, and we're going to ask you to give us your summary for today. When you give us your summary, just give us a very, very brief, quick summary in a minute. If you can. You're a very knowledgeable man, so 60 minutes is not enough to hear from you. But we're going to ask all our panel speakers that we've had today to just summarize for us, to maybe touch back on something that you've said before, to touch on someone that someone else has said. And we did have a question for you earlier that came from one of the viewers. If you could address it, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
Okay, the addressing the question. I'll go back. Every single black organization that has happened in the UK has been hijacked by the Europeans. Every single one. And the Black Lives Matters is no exception. It's been hijacked. And it's been hijacked we are being used as a political pawn in that field. We have to just make sure that we get the best from that before it gets out of hand. On the other side, there are white people right now who are anti-blacks. You're saying that there's not a race war? The race war never ended. It's always been fueled. That's why they can make one phone call and thousands of them mass to go and telling people they're going to protect statues. Now, somebody said earlier on that the statue should stay up there. I would say I would disagree with that. You know, there's a list of all the slave owners that they have in the British Museum, in the Empire. Tear them all down. Put them all in a museum or whatever. Let people know exactly who they were, because those people have ancestors and descendants that are benefiting from that slavery right now. And we need to know who they are. That's why they kept hidden. People are benefiting on our own taxpayers now to keep them. Thousands of slave owners have been paid millions and millions of pounds for stopping, for going out of business through slavery, but yet the people that have been enslaved get nothing. The injustices are just carry on and on and on and on. There is a fight that we have in our hands. There is a fight, and fortunately for us, the fight is now gone worldwide. And inevitably, going worldwide will affect certain amount of changes. I would agree with Sandra, with Ebony, by any means possible. I would say by all means possible, not any, by all means possible, because there's so many different ways we can have that fight. I would agree with Simeon. Politically, we have to fight because everything in this world now is political. When the white people went over to Africa, it's because of politics that they went over there. When they destabilize a country, it's through politics. So when we have to do the same to them here, it's through politics, and we have to do it smart. We have to organize ourselves to do it smarter, and to organize ourselves is a major task, an absolute major task, because every single black person that comes up as a leader gets killed, and they know why they're killing them. So we'll have to keep doing it over and over again till that changes.
Thank you, Master Mo, and thank you for your time. So, Master Mo, Extra Power Radio Station, could you just give people your website or email address that they can contact you via, please?
They can always go to the Power Extra website, or they can get us on Facebook or on WhatsApp. Just go to the Power Extra Radio, or they can go to MMS, Magnificent Multimedia Speakers, and contact me through there. Or they have a phone number they can contact us on, which is 07931 813 234. I'm free and accessible at all times.
Thank you, Master Mo. Thank
Anytime.
you for your time, and thank you for today. Thank you. Thank you for being an amazing friend. I'm grateful for your assistance. Thank you. I'm just going to quickly read through some of the messages that we have, and I'd like to acknowledge my sister Heather that says, "Hey, I'm here and I'm watching. Love you, baby, and thank you for watching." Sherry Ann Dixon, all the way from Guyana, who is watching and has been inputting. Thank you very much, Mary Martin. I see you've still been strong in there. I just want to say to everyone, I am wearing a Mary Martin coat just so that I can get some more next time. I just have to add that one on. And Heather says, my sister Heather says, "Thank you, Darren, for the voice and encouragement." And Bob Baker says, "Please stop tarnishing us with the usage of riots. We are protesting, not rioting. Come on, get it right. Stop shooting us in our foot, on our foot." My sister, Pastor Rosalind from North Carolina, thank you for joining, and thank you for acknowledging your nephew for taking part. Mr. Nkuri says, "Good evening, Lady Waynett and everyone. Nice one. It's great to talk about the race issues. The more it's addressed, the more solutions are conceived and responsibility for us all to take on." Geraldine, thank you for your input, and she said, "Well done" to Darren. And we have our own Nella, Queen of Nella. Nina says, "Unity is power." Louisa Ati, I love you loads, and thank you for watching. Thank you for sharing, and thank you for acknowledging King Darren. Thank you very much for that. We also have Mark Jones, who says, "Whoo, whoo, whoo." Thank you. And we have Simon Brown that's there encouraging in the background. Elizabeth Okundale says, "Thank you, Darren." Yemi Abuli Olori, she says, "Unity is power." Richards, I apologize for saying that a little bit too fast, says, "Hey, I'm here and I'm watching." Margaret Carker says, "I'm here and I'm watching." Sharon Robertson, Temi Topia Olodo, Yemi, once again, Olori, thank you. Thank you to all our viewers that are at home. DJ Steve B. Bastion says, "Not all white people are racist, and do remember the time Nelson Mandela was in prison and lots of white people were protesting in Trafalgar Square." So Sandra Adronoki is watching, and thank you. Kimberly says, indeed, Massimo, even up until recent years, slave owners were getting paid. This is happening in our generations, not even a whole century ago. Bob Baker says, on point, bro, to Massimo, end white privilege. We have to stop internalizing and take action. Thank you very much to all the inputs that are coming through. We're just going to go back again to our panel as we're going to give them a minute. A minute, ladies and gentlemen. I know you're fiery and I know you've got so much to share. We only have 5 minutes left. So I'm going to go back to Pastor and Councillor Simeon. Pastor and Councillor Simeon, if you could just share briefly in 60 seconds.
Okay, thank you very much. I missed one section of the topic, the statue. Was it appropriate for us to bring the statue? I'll say absolutely. It's so important. We remember the story of a guy that I think was a rapist or something like that. I think it was I can't even, I think it was an actor or a presenter or something. Of course, what they did everything to erase everything that guy represented. So actually bringing the statue down of those slave lords is so important. Having said that, I still believe that if it's written in the record books or something, people that wants to read about them, but I don't think it's appropriate to put those statues there for people to be seen. I don't think so. Because at the end of the day, what we'll be doing is we'll be glorifying evil that they represented. I think bringing those statues down, I don't have objection with that at all. But I will go back to some of the other points, especially the fact that a lot of representation that we need to put in place now is to ensure, I will repeat it again, to ensure that all of us get into political stream and start to swim in it. Because that is the only way we can make the change. What we're talking about is not going to take long. We think it's a long process to try to recruit our people, our children, the children, to be interested in political system. It's not going to take a long time. By the time that is in place, you now be all this protest. I'm in support of protests. I love the protest, but I don't want a situation where we just protest for the purpose of protesting. But we definitely need to divert the protest in such a way that we now, start to take it further into the political stream, so that people will begin to understand that the more we get involved in the political system, the more we can change the law of the land, and the more the law will have our own face, our mind. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor and Councillor. I know you needed a whole day to yourself to be able to educate us more, but for this little time that you could give us and what you've given us is absolutely key and important. And thank you very much for taking time today. Thank you, Councillor and Pastor Simeon. Thank you. Next, we're going to call on Advocate Juliet. Advocate Juliet, we're going to call you back on now for you to just give us a summary of your ending. Okay, we'll come back to Advocate Juliet there. Oh, you're back? I see you and then I don't. Okay, we're coming back to you briefly in a few seconds. If we can go over to Josephine. Josephine, if you're coming back onto our screen now, we're just patching you back on. Thank you. So please give us your 60 seconds, please.
There's been quite a lot of information today, and I agree quite a lot with what Ebony has said. If you look back to data's statistics, it shows that race crime has always been the most prevalent among the hate crime. And also 9 times likely Black people are stopped and searched by the police compared to Caucasian people. And it shows that from the ages of 16 to 24 years old, Black men are more likely to be arrested by the police. This is just a proof to show that race war has always existed and it will always continue. But however, with all the protests that's happening, I think it would make some difference. But those who have gone out to protest for equal opportunity and changes to take place among the Black people, they have to remember and they have to be careful that during the riots that took place in 2011, most of those young boys were arrested and they're still in prison, facing up to about 7 years in prison. So I would advise the riot to stop for now. And let's take it to the political side. We need more Black people like David Lamine. He's doing such a fantastic job representing us. Such a fantastic job. And also, I still insist on education. There are some white people out there, they are not racist, but they don't know our history. They don't understand the way we feel. They don't know what we have been through. And if they don't know, how would they be able to understand us as a Black individual? So I still believe education, it's the key for the young ones in school. So I still believe race war would still continue. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your input. Thank you for being an amazing person, and thank you for being an amazing individual. And thank you. And we know that You Can Do It Foundation is where people can contact you from. So if you go on to Google, You Can Do It Foundation, and your name comes up on the screen, you can be found on Facebook. So thank you for that. I'm going to go back to Juliet and Advocate Juliet Macapila. We're now going to come back to you. Yes, we have you. We have you right there. Thank you. We're now over to you to give you your last 60 seconds, please.
My 60 seconds is just one word. It is everyone has a responsibility to fight against prejudice, and that is something that comes under the heart. And I believe that if we are all involved and we are all educated and it's the higher consciousness, I think that we've done a lot of discussions over the years. And I think that the human life needs to evolve, because racism or discrimination is not just white people. It is something that we see across the whole world. And that consciousness that I think we need to deal with. So take responsibility, and that is my last. And thank you for hosting me.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And once again, thank you very much for doing such amazing things. You know, when it comes to politics and when I don't understand anything, I always pick up the phone and say, what does this mean? And and you point me in the right direction. So thank you for that. Very much appreciated. And thank you. I just want to apologize, Pastor and Councillor Simeon. I'm going to bring you back on just to say how people can contact you. Can you please tell people where the Saturday School and the After School Club is situated, please?
The Saturday School is at Newham. Of course, we've been in Newham for 21 years. Of course, you can check our website, www.ariseandglow.uk. And yes, I think that's the best way to contact us. The email is ariseandglow@gmail.com. Yes, if you use any of those platforms, you can send us a message from the website or use the email that I've just given you. Then we'll get in touch with you as soon as possible. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Councillor and Pastor Simeon. Thank you for your time. And thank you for telling us where we can get in touch with you. Thank you. Thank you for that. Before we go over to Empress Ebony, and before we go to her, I just wanted to read a message that came from Stevie B again. Stevie B says, one of the first steps of unity is for African and Caribbean to understand each other's culture and to work more together. And hallelujah, absolutely, I'm in agreement with you. I think I read earlier Sherry-Ann saying she agreed totally with you. As you said, we talk about unity, But look how many Chinese businesses in Africa are in Africa, and then look how they treat African people in China. So that's something to think about in the background there. I'm going to welcome back Ebony. Ebony, for your 60 minutes of amazing words that we can take away.
Okay, so thank you, Waynett, so much for inviting me on today. Yeah, great to hear other speakers. So just to say, 1,745 people, Black people, died in custody since 1990 in this country. I believe it's time to put an end to the inequality in our system, in our country, across the world. We need to stop this systematic racism, that institutional racism that affects us in the way that we get housing, in our schools, in politics. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. Enslaved people, oppressed generations need to stand up now. It's our time to stand up and fight together for change. I absolutely believe that. Churches, you have a responsibility to speak out, okay? You can't just take the money from the people who support you. You need to, speak out, be a strong voice for change. It's 2020, and I believe this is the time to look for and support change in whichever form it comes. And I absolutely agree. Peaceful protest is good. But look, this is 2020. Stop putting your foot on our necks and preventing us from breathing. We need to breathe. We need to live just like anybody else. We shouldn't have to be having this discussion in 2020, but we are. So we're here, so let's deal with it. That's my contribution.
Thank you very much. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. This is some of what our panel speakers have had enough time to share with today. There's so many of the other comments that are there on Facebook, and they are not going to go aloof, I can assure you. We're going to be taking on all the comments that have been placed on Facebook. We're going to collate them all together, put them all together, and then we're going to share them as we grow forward. This is the beginning of a new change. This is a beginning of something else. As we clearly heard from our panel of speakers, there are so many ways to deal with the changes that we require. There are so many avenues to get to the same end. But what we must always remember is we are all heading for the same destination. That is peace, that is equality, that is justice, that is working together, and that is recognizing that Black lives matter, as we want to recognize that all lives matter. So thank you so much for watching today. Thank you so much for listening in. And all the comments that you have all shared will be collated together, and we are going to contact you and let you know what we're doing with those comments. But this is the start of many. We look forward to you joining us again and to being with us. Please do share with others. Let's share the word and let's see what we can start. There's a beginning in every day. We once were children and we became teenagers and we became adults. So every stage to life is a stage now. And as our panel speakers pointed out today, any means necessary in any way. But let me also encourage you that let that be any means necessary in any way. Be peaceful, do not hurt anyone. And please be mindful of attacking the police officers. Be mindful that we do not want to end up like the United States, where we end up seeing many of our young people and our Black people, men or female, being killed under police hands because of brutality would have gone that far. So now, whilst we still have a handle on things, yes, there are many cases that you are probably thinking of now as an example that you can bring forward and say that person died on police hands in the UK. I'm acknowledging that. I am not dismissing that. I am talking about the way forward and how we can shape the future. It should begin and start with us. There's a beginning in everywhere, and everything is possible and nothing is impossible. Together, we can make it. And from today, we can start a new change. I'd like to say thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your love. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. And may we continue to grow together. Until next time, thank you. This is me, your girl, Lady Waynett Peters from the Extraordinary Achievers. And I look forward to welcoming you to the next program. Bye for now.